Welcome to the Redvee TV preview show, supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2021 season. As we look ahead to this week's round 21 Super League clash against Kevin, the team from Wigan, who average most points per game. Who would that be? I'll give you two guesses.
Well, it can't be them from the other night, can it? Because they were absolutely hopeless. Bring
Not
on
awful.
the Centurions, mate.
Not awful, Kev.
They were awful, and that wasn't a derby.
Is that the sober opinion?
That's a sober opinion as well. That wasn't a derby. Oh, mate, it was. Yeah, they were dreadful, weren't they?
Do Leigh Centurions have the potential to overtake Wigan as the derby if they score more than two?
I'm not sure there'll ever be the ill feeling between us and Leigh.
Too much in common.
I won't go that far.
Well, one thing.
Well, both hating Wigan. Yeah,
That's
there's only one thing in common. Yeah, there's only one thing in common. Let's not go that far, right? But you know what? I fully expect. I fully expect more of a game this week than we got last week. Because last week, while our defence was great, I'm not entirely sure Wigan had a clue in attack. And I think we pretty much could stroll through that game and picked them off at ease. I mean, when they took the 2 points at 6 down, that to me was white flags up. We don't want to get nilled. Thanks for coming.
Is that what happens when you don't have a coach who's Super League calibre, unlike Leigh, who's got the mighty care tag?
Yeah, you know what? For all the joking aside as well, yeah, you see Wigan fans all over social media saying that Lamb is the issue there. They've got the players. I'm not entirely sure they have got the players. I'm not entirely sure that, say, that pack, and I know they've recruited for next year with a couple of NRL forwards, but are they living off past reputation? Are they, whoever's making their decisions at a recruitment level, are they just thinking people will sign for Wigan because it's Wigan and because we were so good in the 80s and 90s? I think they're properly living off past glories with some of the recruitment, and they're just hoping for bits of sparks of kind of energy and excitement and off the cuff rugby from the likes of Bevan French and Jai Field and people like that. And when really, and I've said this about other teams in the past, you've just got to be honest and earn the right to play. And I don't think they did earn the right to play on Friday. And I think we just absolutely dominated them.
But this isn't cherry and white TV.
No.
So I wasn't being funny with the caretaker comments. I think he's done an absolute tremendous job at Leigh. Yes, they only won their first game of the season on Sunday, beating the Salford Red Devils. But since he's come in, he seems to have turned it round, and they've been threatening on a number of occasions now to get that first win. And I think now he's got it. I don't think it'll be the last this season. I don't think they'll win tomorrow night, but he's put himself in good stead to keep that job, even if obviously Leigh come down and try and bring them back up.
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job. It looks like he's got them a bit fitter. It looks like they're trying to do exactly what I've just said. Be honest, do the simple things right, and then lay yourself a platform when you're down the other end of the field. They've been close to winning a couple of games and just run out of steam, as you say. But yeah, listen, he's not disgracing himself with that job at all. He's doing a great job with the hand that he's been dealt.
Yeah, especially at home as well. Obviously, Hull KR defeated them by 6 points. They came close against Catalan by the same score difference. So Leigh can put some points on the board. And obviously they'll come to us looking to emulate what they did in pre-season when a Ryan Brearley drop goal give Leigh the victory in Tommy Makinson's testimonial. Yeah,
they will. And it's almost like a free hit for him this week. As you say, you're not expecting them to win. I'm not expecting them to win. So they've got a free hit. They can do what they want. They can try and play Harlem Globetrotters-esque rugby because it's going to be dry, so it's easier to throw it about a little bit. Listen, there's always the chance of an upset, and they'll be quite confident because they've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, and they're not going to probably do what a lot of Super League sides do and rest players ahead of the game on Monday, I think it is for them, because they're playing Catalan away. So neither game is going to be easy for them, but they've got 3 games coming up at the end of the year, which they'll probably focus on. Hull KR and Wakefield at home before they finish up on a game against Huddersfield away. And I don't know whether even 4 victories this season will be enough to keep them in Super League, but it's a chance for them to end on a high. No Josh Eaves for them this week because he's changed shirts and he's come back.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's almost the beauty of the load system as it currently works, that we can send lads out for weeks at a time and then bring them back in when we need them. When all said and done, they're employed by the club. So if we pay the wages, as long as we pay the wages, we get to say where they play rugby or if they play rugby at all. So I have no problem because he's got a bit of match fitness behind him. So if he's needed on Thursday night, he'll be ready to go, and it'll give us that little bit of inside knowledge into kind of how they go about things and kind of possibly some of those structures.
Do you reckon we use that in training this week?
Probably not to a massive extent, but it might be something that they'll just kind of have a little word with him about, see if there's anything that he can give him a little bit of information wise. But I don't think we'd rely on it because we've said it time and time again. Saints are confident going into every game of just absolutely steamrolling any teams with plan A. We seemingly stick with that plan until it's looking like it's running out of gas, and then we start chucking it about a little bit more. So I don't think we'll go to it too much, but it might just be interesting if they say, yeah, they're loaded up one side, or look out for this play. There might be little tiny bits which could come in handy, but I don't think Saints will do too much worrying about Leigh, which I don't like saying that out loud, to be fair.
Yeah, that's like me saying Cass haven't won at Saints for 29 years. The squad, anyway, Kev. Couple of changes. Mark Percival, James Bentley have both dropped out. Percival is just being rested, obviously, with bigger games to come. James Bentley copping a 1-game ban for letting John Bateman sniff his feet.
That's one way of putting it.
Well, he only wafted it in his direction, didn't he? Listen, under the sentencing guidelines, yeah, it's a 1-game ban, but really,
yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
if you want it, you could do so much more and only still get the same ban. So use your bans wisely.
Yeah, exactly.
But there we go. Obviously, Kyle Amor back in the squad. Sion Matauti back in the squad. You'd expect them to be back in the 17 this week, and maybe a little bit of squad rotation.
Yeah, I mean, we've sat here and said this before, that we'd change it round, and Christian Wolf never does. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him go with a team of Kutnagama, Wellsby, Sim, Grace, Lomax, Dodd, Walmsley, Roby, Lees, Thompson, Batchelor, Knowles, with Parsi, LMS, Wingfield and Matauti on the bench. Really wouldn't surprise me at all. I would change things. I don't think this is a game that we need to kind of throw everything at. It might make it a little bit tighter, but it's not a game that you need to throw all your big guns at. We should have enough if they go out there with the right attitude, as we always say. We should have enough to see Leigh off with a couple of the kind of reserves playing a bit more of a part. Yeah.
Could you essentially pick any combination of that 17 and come away with a victory? Obviously, players in key positions aside.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're not going to say Prop, Smith and Eaves, are you? But yeah, you potentially could. I mean, I was having a look at this just before we started recording, and I think 3 of the players that I would leave out ahead of Warrington on Monday.
Can I pick them? Alex Walmsley.
Go on. Correct.
What? James Roby.
Yeah.
And I will pick the other one, which would be Joel Thompson.
That's 3 out of the 4. Yeah.
Oh,
third 3.
Sorry, I didn't realise there was a 4th. I thought it was 3.
Well, yeah, we can only have 17, so. But who would be? And the other one is kind of a here or there for a bench place, really.
My other one would be Parsi.
No, I've not gone that. I think the 17 will be will not include, Alex Walmsley, James Roby, Joel Thompson, and then one of either Ben Davis or Josh Eves. And I can see it being Ben Davis who misses out. And us playing Aaron Smith. Or this is what I do anyway, because as I say, Christian Wolf doesn't tend to make many changes, but I think this is the game where you kind of should.
I was going for the 4 out of our normal 17, pretty much. And the only reason I would have said Parsi potentially if you were going for a 4th was big body, big unit. You want him ready for Monday.
But that's where you can probably manage his minutes a little bit. I mean, we're going to be playing 2 props who are well into the 30s. If my 17 was in, Kyler Moore, Louis might need a rest on Monday. God, if they watch this, they're probably thinking, I think that for the Knackers yard, I think it's just a case of managing people. I think it's just a case of managing bodies. But you could then, if you needed to, as you say, if you drop Parsi, you could prop Morgan Knowles if you wanted to. You could probably stick Sione Matautia in the middle if you wanted to. Jake Wingfield in the middle if you wanted to. But yeah, I think like my 17 would be probably Kootenagama, Welsby, Sim, Grace, Lomax, Dodd, Louis, Aaron Smith, Matty Lees, Joe Batchelor, Sione Matautia, and Morgan Knowles, with Parsi, Amor, Wingfield, and Eves on the bench.
We'll take that, Kev.
Yeah. Sorry, am I keeping you up here?
Picking lineups like this. They might be putting it in charge at Wigan.
Probably no. Yeah, send me in like Agent Millwood.
Maybe it's Agent Lamb.
Yeah, possibly.
Anyway. Okay, league squad. You can only name 19 because we've took players off them.
I'm fair enough, and that's it. There's a couple of former Saints in there as well, aren't there? And Jamie Ellis, Jack Ashworth. Listen, they'll be up for it. They'll be pumped for this. They'll be looking forward to this. And as I say, they'll probably cite that testimonial win as how they can do it. They've got a couple of smart players there. They've got a couple who've played quite a bit of Super League as well. There's always a chance, but you'd hope that with the right attitude, decent weather, we'd have too much fun.
I wonder if that's actually their squad numbers. I'm sure it's not.
No, it's not. Jamie Ellis is not a prop for a start.
That's just lazy admin.
Yeah, Liam Hood is a hooker.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. James Bell's on there. James Bell's one of the players that Saints have been linked with, isn't he?
He is. What would you make of him, Kev?
I think he had a good game against us earlier this season. I know I seemingly remember him getting pinged for a forward pass near the line. But second rower, I think he's about 27. Scottish, like Lachlan McCoot and Luke McDonald. So, yeah, I mean, that doesn't count for anything. But I think he had a good game against us. I don't know too much about him. There's better scouts at Saints than me.
Yeah, he obviously come to them from Toulouse, 27 games for them. 10 tries, which isn't particularly bad going. Not sure the standard of opposition. Didn't play much for the New Zealand Warriors. Second rower, loose forward. Maybe just another squad player for us if he stood out a bit. Bring him in. Obviously, with James Batchelor now becoming actually a first team player, maybe he can be next season's first year James Batchelor.
Well, possibly. I think he'd probably be on a par with Batch, but with losing a couple of second rowers, you think that we do need someone who can slot in, and we need a little bit of padding out in that area. So I'm sure they'll have done the due diligence if he is one that's going to come into Saints.
I'm genuinely interested on how he qualifies for Scotland.
I think he had a can of Iron Brew and a Highland toffee.
Possibly so. So score predictions, Kev?
I've said Saints by 14, and I think that's only because we've chopped and changed a little bit, just to bring it a little bit tighter.
I'll go Saints by 56.
Unbelievable.
Why not?
All right, fair enough.
You laugh, but I wasn't that far off on Wigan.
Yeah, fair enough.
I said 32 on Friday, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
You see, you laugh, but we are more than capable of battering someone.
Yeah, we are, and it's almost like we're close to doing that, and I feel like we've not quite given someone a good idea that we can. Whether that is down to the fact that we kind of keep it quite simple and wear teams down, I don't know, but you do feel like, I suppose, if this was a game that was standalone in the middle of the season, where it was on a Friday and we played last Thursday and we're playing again the following Friday, and we had a full team out, that we might actually kind of throw the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah. Just to clarify, James Bell, his grandfather was from Aberdeen.
All right, fair enough.
So yeah, there you go. It isn't just pulled a country out of the hat for the World Cup. There we go. Right. Big news of the week. You've called for it for a while, Kevin. He's not signed until the year 202. He signs until 2023.
There we go. The graphics department get it right. Listen, I think he's been given a chance, and he has taken that chance. He's grown into the role. It's taken him a bit of time for his Saints career to kind of get going. I know he went back out on loan to York in the early days, but he's been given that chance, and he's almost one of them under the radar hard workers, isn't he? He's not someone who's going to get you the headlines. He's not someone who you're going to turn around and say, wow, he's made 200 meters this week, made 70 tackles or whatever. He's going to just get through his work. He's going to run his lines. And you know what? I'm made up for him. I'm made up that he's signed a 2-year extension with us.
Does he play your Tim Yonkers, your Mike Bennett, that type of role in your squad?
Yeah, probably so, where you can rely on him. You know, they come in and you can rely on him. And yeah, he's probably one who will continue to improve the more games he gets as well. It's, as I say, he had a slow start to his Saints career, and it's one of them that you look forward to. I wonder what shirt number he'll be next year, if he'll be one of the starting numbers next year, or whether they'll give that to, say, Sione Matautia and a new signing or whatever. It'll be interesting to see, but I think, listen, if he was named at the start of next year as our starting second row, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, he's earned it. The question is, if he's going to be a first team regular and in our starting 17 most weeks, who's going to run a lot of our community initiatives, which he's been heavily involved in?
Yeah. Well, this
the
is where
St Helens will once again be getting fat.
Yeah, this is where you pass that on to the young lads and kind of keep them grounded and put them through it that way. But yeah, that's it. He's done some great things with the community foundation. Put his hand up to do a lot through them, which again is good. You've got to have a club man like that. Joel Thompson was spoken about as that, and unfortunately, because we've been robbed of him due to like injury and him going back home with the decision made with his family as well as his his body not kind of pulling up as well as he thought it would. Joe Batchelor's probably the one to step into that and be the link in between the community and the team. There's no reason why Joe Batchelor can't be the Joel Thompson and kind of keep building and building on his community stuff.
Now, we have been linked with a number of players. We talked about James Bell earlier. Another player we've been linked with this week, strongly rumoured to have signed for next season, is Konrad Hurrell from the Leeds Rhinos. What are your thoughts on that?
Mixed, really. We've signed Hopoati to cover Kevin Agama. We do need outside backs because you're only 2 away from then having a crisis where you've potentially got people in. Depends on the deal he's on.
I was going to go on to that. So we're obviously having chats with a few people listening to conversations, and they make the good points. Yeah, for me, it depends on what sort of deal he's coming in on.
Yeah.
And what the reasoning for it is. I think if he does come in, he isn't coming in to start. I don't think he's in our best 17 every week. But if his wages are cheap enough, you need a back who can have an impact with experience. Because if you look at our halfback situation for next season, we'll have Johnny Lomax and Lewis Dodd in the halves. What happens if one of them gets injured? Are you straight away looking to move Jack Wellesby in?
Well, you see, that's my problem with that, because if you're saying Jack Wellesby's wearing the one shirt, you want to leave him there as much as you can. Now I was having a little look online. We have been linked with Farmanu Brown, who is a halfback and hooker at Fed. So he's 26. He's played NRL. He's Tonga. That's probably where the link comes from. So it's whether you bring someone in like that who can play a bit of 9 and can be your backup 9 if you need him to be. I know we're linked with Joey Lussick as well, which might muddy that. But he's also your backup halfback. And he is the one who fits in, so you're not moving Jack Wellesby about, so Jack Wellesby can get used to playing there. Because as you say, week one of our 2 starting halfbacks goes down. You need someone who's just going to fit in and play there for weeks. You start shuffling it about. And as I say, you put Hopoati back to fullback and bring Hurrell into the centres, or Josh Sim into the centres. You then get another injury on your wing or whatever, or a suspension. You need someone to come in, and we've got to get the balance right. As I always say, I think Saints fans are very happy to have the young lads come through, but want the best playing at all times, whether that means a young lad misses out or whatever. And I think you've got to have that balance of Josh Sim getting his game time ahead of Konrad Hurrell, but also having someone who, you know what, if we need someone against a team like a Leigh or someone like that, who we need someone big and strong and powerful, or if I don't know, we've got a young lad who's just having a bit of a bad run of games, we can put him in, then it does make a bit of sense, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think this is how long we've been doing this. I think you can go back on the Redvee TVs. I'm sure I remember a fan reaction after we beat Leeds it was an opening game of the year, and Hurrell showed up well that night. Listen,
yeah,
he's probably not had the massive impact that Leeds would have hoped he'd have had over the course of his career. But if he's coming on cheap enough wages, which if true, and he comes in on not taking a lot of money because we believe there's not a lot of salary cap to go around, you've got to take the chance, maybe. It's all right saying, oh, he's not good enough, we want such a body, but such a body will cost such a lot more.
Well, that's your problem. It's, as I say, it's fantasy rugby, and people play fantasy rugby by saying I'd take him, but they don't hear that, as you say, him is on once 120 grand a year, and you can probably get that and negotiate and get it down to 100. But you know what? We've only got, and these are all just figures plucked out the air, but we've only got 60 grand to play with. So you can't sign someone on 100 grand if you've only got 60 grand to play with. That's the issue.
Unless
and you've got to leave. Well, and then you've got to leave it in for lads who are coming off contract. So Regan Grace is off contract at the end of next year. So do you leave money in the pot because you think, well, actually, I want to give Regan Grace an extra 20 grand a year to make sure that he stays at the club for the next 3 years? It's a lot more difficult than I think people think it is to balance a salary cap.
Yeah. So yes, I think it's watch this space and let's see what he comes in on. If rumours are to be believed. I think we should finish this week, Kev, by talking about the support at Wigan.
Yeah.
I thought it was excellent. And I think we spoke about it because we got the train, didn't we? In and out. And I think we spoke about it as we got off the train. There must have been good 200 young lads, girls, making the atmosphere, making noise. And if the club can harness that support on a weekly basis, and I know you can't be playing Wigan every week, but if you can get the majority of them coming to games week in, week out, we've got a real good core support moving forward, haven't we? I thought the noise that they made, they never shut up, variety of songs, they just created a really, really good atmosphere, which like transcended down onto the pitch.
Yeah, they're the future, aren't they? And that's it. We're not, no. But that's it. They're the future. They didn't stop, as you say. Listen, I'm a traditionalist. I don't like singing about Wigan unless we're actually playing Wigan.
And we were.
If they make an atmosphere against Leigh on a Thursday night by singing "Wigan get battered everywhere they go," at the minute, take the atmosphere, let them enjoy themselves, let them get on with it. Am I a big singer? Yeah, when I've had a couple of beers. Will I be on a Thursday night at Leigh? Sorry, I can't profess to be the loudest on the terrace. But
what about the Saints, Kev?
What's that?
What about if you're at Saints?
Well, depends if I've had an ale, but I'm not doing that on a Thursday night.
Not at your age.
Not at my age. I don't get hangovers, though. I'm all right. Yeah, I'm quite happy to let them go through the whole repertoire of songs, even if it's Wigan songs, just to try and get the atmosphere going at home. It's obviously suffered after COVID. It's obviously one of them that Thursday night isn't the greatest night for a game, especially, no offence to Leigh, but playing the likes of Leigh. It's not a Leeds, it's not a Warrington, it's not a Wigan. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I hope they can continue, and I'm sure a lot of them will be looking forward to Monday night at Warrington.
Does this go back to what we've been talking about for weeks? No, when we've been talking about you need something different to get people back in the grounds.
Yeah.
Listen, it might not be anything traditionally different, but there's a big difference to them sitting in your living room watching Saints on the telly, moaning on Twitter, pretending you're the world's biggest fan, than actually being in the ground with an atmosphere, enjoying yourself with a gang of lads having a sing-song on the West Ham.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something we need to harness, because do you know what? I'm going to Saints because I want to be part of the atmosphere.
Well, I said in one of our WhatsApp groups when there were people whinging about fans singing "Wigan get battered everywhere they go," have a beer and pretend we've just beaten Wigan. At the end of the day, people are there. People are making the atmosphere. If you want to make the atmosphere, start a song. Get in the middle of them and start a song. Teach them some of the old ones if need be. I mean, they know quite a few of them. But teach them some of the old ones. Teach them the ones that you want singing. But don't just whinge at them and then do nothing about it. In fact, don't whinge at them. They're bringing atmosphere. Yeah, if there's unsightly things either in a town centre or whatever before a game or after a game, we don't want that. But when you're in the stadium, when you're singing, just get behind them.
Yeah. Obviously, we had a few beers before the game with a couple of our Wigan friends. We like to take pity and be charitable now and again and show them how the other half live. But yeah, it was interesting to see the parade of the emergency services in Wigan
Yeah,
on Friday night. I think we saw everything, didn't we, except the lifeguard.
yeah. It was,
I'm
yeah.
sure they went to Wigan Pier. But yeah, obviously we want obviously people to behave themselves. So hopefully everybody got home safe and well.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. It was from where we were sat on that lovely view over whatever that big green bit of machinery is outside Wigan Central. We had all the different sirens. But you know what? We're a bit old, aren't we? We just like a sit down and a pint.
What was our first drink? Oatmeal stout.
Yeah, something like that. Then we ended up buying one of them beveled glasses like you'd see. Like you'd see in the Rovers Return in the 70s.
Eric Bristow.
Yeah, exactly. That's one for the kids.
Look him up, kids. Before we go, in case you don't see our Twitter accounts, which I'm pretty sure you probably all do, we did talk last week about missing Wigan fan TV, didn't we? They were missing in action.
Yeah.
We said it was because they were crap. Funnily enough, we're sat in Wigan Central and who rocks up at the bar? and he did.
Yeah,
he actually confirmed our initial thoughts of why they're not doing it.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, he seemed in good spirits, didn't he? But that's it. I suppose. Yeah. Listen, they don't really do it anymore. It's a shame because the more fan media that's out there, the better. You've got the likes of, I know he does a fanzine, Dan Tomlinson up the cream at Hull. They do it. I see down at Bellevue, so Wakefield are doing it. You've got a loose wire. What will Brian Bevan do from Warrington? So there's plenty going about that is club-centric.
Yeah, and you know what? As a fan, I want to see club-centric stuff. I don't want to look at the generic rugby league sites putting cheap stuff out for hits and clickbait. Nobody's interested. You're just regurgitating somebody else's news. You want to see fan opinion. And listen, we get opposition fans coming on having a go at us for what we write, that it's biased. Well, funnily enough, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
100% Saints bias. We don't look through any other tinted spectacles except the St Helens ones. But that's what we are. We're fans, and we're giving a fan viewpoint. We tweet things at games, watching it live, not sat in an armchair with the benefit of 15 million Sky replays and a mic'd up referee. We call it as we see it. If we come away and we're wrong, which we're not often are.
That's because you do the in-game tweets. That's why.
Say what you see and say what you don't sometimes as well if it fits the Saints sport.
Correct.
There we go. Right. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And we will catch you tomorrow night at the Totally Wicked Stadium for an instant fan reaction after Saints win by 56. Catch you soon.